Time to get underway for the third race of the second weekend of the 2024 F4 UAE Championship here at the Yas Marina circuit. Now, we've spoken about this before, but there's a lot of pressure on these young guys to deliver. This isn't like the world of football, cricket, tennis, rugby, where all of your hard work and training and development to get to the premier category is done behind closed doors. Here in the world of motorsport, all of the mistakes are under the gaze of the microscope, and competitors like Lucas Samalisto and Enzo Ye have a very hard task to be under pressure and nailing it every time in front of the world's press. But as you can hear, engines are starting to rev, and we're getting ourselves ready for the third and final race of our weekend. The F4 UAE drivers now get to take on their second layout of the season, the Grand Prix circuit here at Yas Marina. So with 3 new races to focus their attentions on, how did they get on last week? Business as usual for the Mumbai Falcons, as Freddie Slater and Kia Nakamura-Berta grabbed a famous pair of wins, their first in car racing at this level. Alex Powell has shaken off the rookie cobwebs, and now he is challenging for pace 2, whilst Dion Gouda's British F4 experience could see him in good stead. Yas Heat Racing are ready for more after Keanu Al-Azari from Dubai bagged 2 pole positions and 2 podiums last week. He and teammate Zach Scular both have reason to smile, as the latter was regularly fighting in the top half of the field, having never raced in cars previously. It's exciting times for the home squad. High-Tech are never far from the victories, and they are joint second in the team standings. Deegan Fairclough grabbed the initiative to challenge the leaders, with Gabriel Stilp getting his elbows out a few times, and Sebastian Murray and Reza Sivaruthin plagued by an unfortunate qualifying run apiece. This weekend, it could be better still. The only true Emirati on the grid lies at Prema, and Rashid Al-Daheri pulled off some stunning moves last week to showcase his flair and natural talent. He and French racer Dorian Pin were both regular top 10 talent in the season opener, so expect both drivers to be knocking on the door of victories very soon. A reverse grid win for Nikita Bedrin was the shining light for PHM AIX after a tough season opener. However, Max Popov and Kamal Murad were able to make good progress, whilst Everett Stack had a ton of bad luck to contend with. Now that the pre-season jitters have gone, they could be the team that upsets the apple cart. AGI Sport must have thought Christmas had come early when Jack Beaton claimed a reverse grid pole in their first ever race weekend, but the podium that followed was richly deserved. Now for Carrie Schreiner, Nicholas Stati and Peter Buzanelos, the target is clear, similar points scored, and both team and driver will be all smiles. There were several headaches at Santalog, as Matteo Quintarelli and Yvan David showed strong speed, but luck deserted them. Hopefully all will be put right in round 2, as Aurelia Nobels and Maxi Restrepo want to ignore the nightmares of round 1 and focus on the future, where things will surely get better. XL Motorsport had a topsy-turvy opening weekend for Alves Rodella, Liu Kaixun and Thiago Rodriguez, but points were scored and surely more will follow. To make matters more interesting, 2 new faces have flown into town, Tina Hausmann of Switzerland and Chu Yanbu of China, both of whom will want to make an instant impact in the 3 races. Race GP couldn't have had more different fortunes from their Formula Regional effort, but the glimmer of hope was young Jules Caranta, who drove a fabulous race in the second outing to score a Rookie Cup win. For Lucas Samalisto, Rafael Narak and Enzo Ye, the gauntlet has been thrown down, so it's time to see if they can emulate him. Pinnacle are the only squad yet to score points, but after the trials and tribulations of qualifying for Kai Darianani, having to make storming comebacks in flamboyant style certainly turned heads, but not points as yet. That should change this weekend, and if Fu Yu Hao is still up for the battle himself, it could be both men scoring. The F4 UAE Championship is a truly international affair, and we have one of the star drivers from Asia and Sri Lanka's first ever medalist in the FIA Motorsport Games. Yvan David is with us. Yvan, this is a bit different, stepping up from the world of karting to F4. How are you finding it so far?
Yeah, I'm loving it. It's obviously my first season in cars. I've been in karting for a long time, so I'm really glad to step up now.
Now, you became a bit of a megastar back home in Sri Lanka through your karting exploits. You represented the nation both in the Motorsport Games and the Academy Trophy. How are you finding the switch to cars so far? It's a big step up.
Yeah, for sure, it's a big step. It's the first step in the cars ladder all the way to F1. But I'm loving it so far. I'm loving how the team works and everything, and I can't wait to get racing.
So obviously coming into a team like Santalog that already has an F4 title behind them. Last year they won in Spain, and they come in this year. It's almost as if the team has hit a complete reset button. How are you finding that?
Yeah, it's obviously we're back at the start of the season, so whatever happens last season, we need to start again and build up from there. You know, there's always big competition, but I'm loving how the team is working. We're working together, and if we put the hard work in, we can reach the top again.
Now, thanks to pre-season testing, you've already managed to get a bit of a handle on both the corkscrew and the Grand Prix layouts here. There's a very different dynamic to the flow of the circuits. Just tell us what it's like going over particularly the corkscrew section, where there's been no rubber laid down there really for 3 years.
Yeah, it's quite a cool section of the track really, because it's very downhill. It's different to what we've been driving before, and it's new to Abu Dhabi as well. We haven't raced here in a while in this layout. So it's a really cool corner. It could create some good racing, and it's actually quite fun to drive because it's blind, it's fast, it's cool.
Now, one of the advantages of coming into a championship like this, when there's so much of a plethora of talent, is a lot of the drivers that are making their first impression here. You already know them. You've raced them in the karting world before, so it must be quite a unique experience to be doing something very different, but with people that you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, we're in the same generation. We're going to be climbing the ladder together for probably the rest of our career. But, you know, they're big competition, but we're always rivals, and we respect each other at the same time. So it's good to obviously know my competition, but it's better to beat them as well.
Now, when you're coming through the racing ladder and you're starting to put yourself on the map, and the reaction that you're getting back home in Sri Lanka, it's not a nation that's known for its racing drivers yet, but what kind of an impact has that made to your confidence and your sort of approach?
Yeah, it's amazing. Honestly, all the support back home, all the fans and everything, it's amazing. And I couldn't be more grateful for it. And it's not pressure at all. It's only helping me and supporting me. So if anything, it's given me more confidence that I know I have a nation behind me. So it's absolutely amazing.
Now, as one of the drivers gunning for the Rookie Cup this year, what are your personal expectations as to what you can produce over the course of the 5 weekends, the 2 different race circuits to play on? How do you feel it's going to go?
Yeah, obviously things can change, and we just have to keep working hard. I have to stay focused and put in the hard work. We don't have to worry about results or anything. I'm not focused on that at all. I'm not focused on expectations. I'm just focused on what I'm here to do and what I need to put in.
They kind of call this one the World Championship of F4, with so many big teams and drivers coming through from across Europe and Asia to come and compete in it. What is that like to be in the middle of making your car racing debut?
Yeah, it's amazing, honestly, to start in this championship. You know, a lot of competitors and stuff, but I'm only enjoying it. You know, it's a bigger challenge, it's a bigger step for me, so it's all to play for.
Well, we're really excited to see how you can get on, and I'm sure everybody back home in Colombo is really excited, so good luck with it.
Thank you very much.
As the sun sets over the Yas Marina circuit here in Abu Dhabi, what better time to go racing for the 3rd and final time this weekend in the F4 UAE Championship, certified by the FIA. Jake Sanson here with you as we get things ready and underway for the 3rd and final time. It's going to be a very difficult race for everybody. Some drivers have managed to save their tyres ready ahead of this final race. Some have half a set spare, some have a full fresh set, and some are going to be running on old tyres. So it could be a very interesting race, the dynamics of which are going to be very tough to predict in terms of who's going to get the best of it and who's going to be on the back foot. We're really going to find out who has prepared in the best possible manner for this 3rd and final race. A little bit of housekeeping to give you for this one. Based on the previous race, there's only one 5-place grid penalty from race 2 to hand out to anybody, and that is for the Chinese driver Chu Yanpu, who was given a 5-second penalty for causing a collision in race 2, and as a result of that, he will not be starting in from 18th on the starting grid. He'll be starting in at 23rd. But I'll go through all of the bits and bobs as we go. As you can see, the cars have left pit lane, so they will then make their way round to the starting grid. A slight delay in proceedings for this one, based on the race before it, which was the 6 hours of Abu Dhabi, the sports car race. There was a slight delay in the repairing of barriers at the end of the race, which has meant that we're behind schedule by about 10 to 15 minutes or so. But everybody is still going to give us a fabulous race battle out here on the circuit. Hello to you, whether you're watching on YouTube, on Facebook, on Motorsport TV, however you're tuned in and watching. You have picked the right location, the right race, the right place, and some great battles ahead of us. Let's talk you through who's going to be starting from where over the course of the next half an hour or so, plus the additional lap on top of it. 28 minutes to be precise, plus 1 lap is the full race distance. But of course, the drivers are going to be making their way to the starting grid and dialing themselves in. They usually do 2 reconnaissance laps, so don't be too surprised to see drivers peeling off and going back down pit lane and then rejoining on the way to turn 1 rather than going straight to the grid, because these guys are usually going to do 2 laps. In fact, you can see that play out for yourself. They're actually going back through the pit lane and then they'll revert back onto the circuit again, because if you go down the main straight, you're committing to park your car on the starting grid and get ready. And most drivers at this point, in fact, on this occasion, it seems all of them want 2 reconnaissance laps to gear up and get ready. So the man who's going to be starting on pole position is the man who won race 2 last night, Keanu Al-Azari, who is based over in Dubai and about an hour and a half or so away from here on the Palm Jumeirah. What a fabulous young driver he is, and a great performance for the Yas Heat Racing Academy. He's been able to maximise his opportunity yesterday. Started in 3rd on the grid, but was determined, was adamant that he was going to be going for victory in yesterday's race, and decided it was going to be nothing less than a victory that would be a satisfying result. And there is the man who won race 2 in the number 11 Yas Heat Academy car, Keanu Al-Azari, with the bright yellow nose tip. And he is going to be starting this race from pole position straight after winning last night. And I can tell you that there is a very boisterous and bouncy mood in the Al-Azari household. Mum and Dad, I believe, are both here, as is young Adam Al-Azari, his younger brother, who has been racing in karting for almost as long as Keanu has. Nikita Bedrin is the man who's going to be starting alongside the young man from Dubai on the front row of the grid. Nikita Bedrin, who races under an Italian license. He is with the PHM AIX team and has already taken a win this year, managed to get the reverse grid victory a week ago here at Yas Marina. Freddie Slater, who is now the championship leader coming into this one. He has 3rd position on the starting grid, but he has a decent lead in the championship. By my calculations, he leads by 38 points in the championship, which is a lot more than a victory, which is 25. So Freddie Slater can just enjoy tonight, see if he can get himself another top 5 finish, because that's really his best strategy for the rest of this season. You can win races when the opportunity comes, but you shouldn't try too hard to, because top 5 finishes just keep the positions favourable and also keep a consistent and smooth point score available to you. There is young Jack Beaton, the 46, very competitive young Australian who's had a reverse grid pole position so far this year for the AGI Sport team. Was able to convert that into a podium finish, very much to the delight of everybody back home in Australia, particularly the team from Ingleburn, who have... I was just talking to Adam Gutsch before we went live, actually, and he was saying, you know, 4 months ago I had absolutely no plans whatsoever for AGI Sport to be racing in the Middle East, until a couple of people asked if we could do it, and then he kind of had to change his tune a little bit. So everything's definitely become a little bit more intense for the team from Australia. We were talking about Freddie Slater, 3rd position on the starting grid for him. Alex Powell is going to be lining up 4th on the starting grid. There is another of the Mumbai Falcons drivers. That is the number 55 of Dion Gowda, who's going to be starting this one all the way down in 16th position, and not exactly where he wanted to be, considering how unwell he is. A poor starting grid position is not going to make him feel any better. There is Nikita Bedrin, the number 10 for the PHM AIX team. He'll be on the front row of the starting grid for this one. So keep an eye on him. He has a year's experience in F4 behind him already, so he is a favourite coming into this one. Not the ultimate favourite, based on the pace that we've seen from Keanu Al-Azari, winning yesterday's race, and of course the 2 races at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix trophy round. So he has won 3 F4 races in his career so far, only one of those within a full championship though, of course, and that was yesterday night. And there was a big celebration, I'm sure, on the Palm Jumeirah for Keanu Al-Azari's triumph. Behind the top 2 rows of the grid, Kia Nakamura-Berta, the man who won his first ever car race a week ago, coming through in 5th position on the starting grid for this one, and he managed to get a reverse grid pole yesterday. Was not quite able to beat Keanu Al-Azari in yesterday's race though. He finished 2nd in that. Doriane Pain, the French driver, she will be starting in 6th on the grid with the Prema team, and I really tip her for a crack at a podium in this one. I think she's got a really good chance of doing it. She's getting faster and faster all the time, and I have a feeling that by the end of the year, which is only about 3 weeks away, of course, 4 weeks away, she is going to be challenging for race victories on a regular basis. Do not doubt Doriane Pain's ability. She will definitely continue this bandwagon. She's just in front of her teammate, the true Emirati on the grid, Rashid Al Daheri, who is based here in Abu Dhabi in the city, not too far away. It only takes about 10-15 minutes, I think, to get home from here for young Rashid Al Daheri. And his father Ali is here, as of course many of his supporters are as well. The fans are starting to flock into the stands for this one, and there's quite a few of them, considering that this is coming up to 6 p.m. on a Sunday night. A lot of people have started to really get enthusiastic about the drivers who are representing UAE, including their own homegrown Emirati, Rashid Al Daheri. Alongside him on the grid is the Frenchman Gilles Caranta, who will be going off 8th position on the grid. A really exciting opportunity for Jules, who was the Rookie Cup winner last week in his second ever appearance in a car. So Gilles Caranta definitely one to keep an eye on, and he's making some fantastic moves around the circuit every time he takes to the wheel of his race GP car, so expect him to do a fair job. There you can see the pink sky starting to overlook the Abu Dhabi City line, and of course the Yas Marina circuit here under the W Hotel. It's looking very, very cool and peaceful, and that means that the tyre degradation should be a lot less than we have seen in previous races. It's not quite as pitch black as it was yesterday, but certainly for this F4 UAE race, it's definitely going to be getting dark as the race continues to progress. Look at that fabulous backdrop. There is nothing in the world quite like the Yas Marina circuit here in Abu Dhabi. Alves Rodella going to be starting from 9th on the grid for the XL Motorsport team. The Italian, who has been captaining the ship so far, doing a grand job. He lines up alongside the British driver Deegan Fairclough, who really has been pulling punches for the High-Tech Grand Prix team and doing a fabulous job of it. And I'm sure that everybody back home in the UK and amongst the Racing Star programme that has scouted this incredible talent is going to be really enthusiastic about what he can do here from 10th on the grid. Zach Scular, 11th on the starting grid, another of the young men who are based here in Dubai, not originally born here, but the British driver coming into the Yazid Academy this year, first ever car race campaign, and he's right up there in 11th position, up against drivers who have a lot more experience, so that's really promising for young Zach Scular, and it indicates just how much talent he's got. Gabriel Stilp, the Gilles Villeneuve of karting, and definitely starting to look like the Gilles Villeneuve of F4 racing as well, with his banzai manoeuvres. 12th position on the grid for him. Watch out for the young man in car number 6. The high-tech driver is definitely going to be putting on a bit of a show again. 13th on the grid for Enzo Ye. He'll be there in the number 77 race GP car alongside Matteo Quintarelli, who is another Dubai-based racing driver. He is Italian by origin, no relation to Ronnie Quintarelli, I should point out, the famous Japanese-based racing driver, but Matteo Quintarelli definitely looking for an exciting time behind the wheel from 14th on the grid on row 7. That is the time indication, 28 minutes for this race, but when the 28 minutes run down, there will be an additional lap at the end of the lap the timer runs down on, so it's 28 minutes plus an additional lap. Then 15th on the starting grid behind Matteo Quintarelli is the Australian driver Kamal Murad. He'll be there on the 8th row of the grid alongside the Indian talent Dion Gowda. Get well soon, mate. I really hope that by the time we get to Dubai for the 3rd round of the championship, which is going to kick off 11 days from now, hopefully he's going to have a much better focus coming into the races. 17th on the grid for the Frenchman Raphael Norac for Race GP. He'll be there alongside the Macanese driver Thiago Rodriguez, who is the reigning F4 champion of China, and having a very topsy-turvy season so far, but hopefully this race is going to go a lot better for him. Jack Beaton, starting 19th on the grid for the AGI Sport team from Australia. He lines up on the 10th row alongside Sebastian Murray, another Dubai-based British driver, although the Scottish racer still putting in some fantastic performances. Not quite where he deserves to be on the grid, actually. 20th is not really indicative of his pace. And the problem is, once you're down the order, you've got nothing but traffic fodder to try and bounce around. So hopefully he's going to get a much better shot of working his way forward. 21st on the grid for Max Popov, who's had, again, a bit of a strange start to his car racing campaign. It was not really on the pace in qualifying last week, has reverted back to it this week, and he's definitely able to make his way through the field when he's got a good car underneath him. There is a car stationary in pit road. Now that looks to me like one of the Yazheat cars. Now that could be a disaster for Rashid Al Daheri. I think he's got to start this race from the pit lane. So that is very disappointing indeed for the Emirati, and it looks to me as though he's going to have to take up the start of this race after having mechanical problems. He will now go from the pit lane, so that's really compromised his evening. Very unfortunate indeed. Now let's go through the rest of the field. 21st we mentioned Max Popov. 22nd on the grid is the Brazilian driver Aurelia Nobels, who has both Brazilian and Belgian heritage, currently based out of Boston in Massachusetts in America. And she did a great job in the first 2 races of the weekend compared to what she did a week ago, finally seeming to be finding the pace with the Santalok Racing team. 23rd on the grid after his 5-place grid penalty for this one is the Chinese driver Chu Yanpu, who is part of the Mercedes Young Driver program. And he's got quite a following here in the UAE. A lot of people have come over from China to support him. He's there in 23rd on the grid for this one after that 5-place grid penalty, as I mentioned. Kai Daryanani is going to be starting from 24th position on the grid. So a very exciting situation for him. 25th on the grid for Reza Sawerthan. So he's going to be there in position. Reza Sawerthan, the Bournemouth-based driver. 25th position on the starting grid for the young man from High Tech. And then 26th on the grid alongside him, the Australian Peter Buzinelos. He'll be there on the 13th row of the starting grid. Luca Samalisto, 27th on the grid for the Race GP team. He'll be there on row 14 alongside Nicola Starti, the Australian, who we ended up having a very nice conversation with in between races earlier on today. And then we had 29th on the grid for Yvan David. Very unfortunate indeed for the young man from Sri Lanka, who has only recently moved here to the United Arab Emirates. He lives in downtown Dubai. In fact, that is his father. That is Johan David, who has the best seat in the house. He's actually watching from the W Hotel with their family. So, wow, Johan, that was perfect timing. You really couldn't have got any better than that. He is actually watching from the W Hotel, and he's got the best seat in the house to see how the drivers will work their way through the chicane on the first lap. Honestly, we couldn't have synchronized that better if we tried. Maxi Restrepo starting from 30th on the grid. That again is not really indicative of the Colombian's pace. He's one of the fastest developing drivers in single-seater racing. He is coached and masterminded by Juan Pablo Montoya, the two-time Indy 500 winner and Monaco Grand Prix champ. Fabulous performance from young Maxi Restrepo in yesterday's second race. He just wasn't able to maximize it in terms of results. 31st on the grid, though, Tina Hausmann, who's had a very strong start to the weekend. Again, in terms of results, she wasn't really able to capitalize on what she could do because yesterday she ended up retiring on the opening lap. 32nd, I should say, sorry, on the grid is Liu Kaixun, who's going to be there on the 16th row of the grid alongside Tina. Then Carrie Schreiner, who's had a very difficult start to her F4 UAE campaign, and everything has basically been about trying to come back after adversity, but she's always up for the scrap and always up for the battle. Fu Yuhao of China, lining up 34th on the grid for the Pinnacle Motorsport team. And then Everett Stack will take up the last position of the starting grid. So the 35 cars are into position, and it's only 34 of them that will actually be there on the starting grid for this one, because the man who should be 7th on the grid, Rashid Al-Daheri, is sadly now going to have to move off into the pit lane to start the race, so already on the back foot. The green light goes on the starting entry, and the drivers will go around for their formation lap. So, Kiana Walazari and Nikita Bedrin on the front row from Freddie Slater and Alex Powell, Kia Nakamura Berta and Dorian Bain, Rashid Al-Daheri and Gilles Caranta, Alvis Rodella and Deegan Fairclough, Zach Scular and Gabriel Still from Enzo Ye and Matteo Quintarelli, Kamal Murad and Dion Gauda, Rafael Norak and Tiago Rodriguez, Jack Beaton and Sebastian Murray, Max Popov and Aurelien Nobels, Chu Yanpu and Kai Daryanani, Reza Sawerthan and Peter Buzinelos, then Lucas Amalisto and Nicolas Starti, Yvan David and Maxi Restrepo, Tina Hausmann and Liu Kaixun, Carrie Schreiner, Fu Yuhao and Everett Stack. Only one of those names will not be on the actual starting grid. That is Rashid Al-Daheri, who lines up 7th on the starting grid. And so sadly, he will have to go from the pit lane after what looks like some kind of technical difficulty that meant he was not able to go back to the correct place on the starting grid. There is Tiago Rodriguez, the young man from Macau, which of course has a lot of motor racing history as a country. He's hoping to do just as well in his motor racing career as Andre Couto, who is arguably the most famous man from Macau to go motor racing, certainly in the modern era. But Tiago Rodriguez, already with a title underneath his belt, of course. He only just recently became the champion of F4 in China after battling with, amongst many people, Liu Kaixun, who's actually his teammate at the XL Motorsport team now here in the F4 UAE Championship. Kiana Walazari just warming up the tyres and brakes. You have to make sure they're to the optimum temperature. You don't want to get yourself into hot water on the way down to the first corner. And this slight delay in the time has obviously also meant that now, by the time we get to the finish of this race, it will be pitch black. So this is definitely feeling more and more like Formula One for the F4 UAE drivers. They were already very excited yesterday about having a race at night, and now they are going to race into the night for the third race of the weekend. So Gianni Malazari, fresh off the back of taking a fabulous victory where he genuinely had to fight for it in the first couple of laps. Made a terrific early start, went from third to second, then managed to take on the duel with Kia Nakamura-Berta and got the lead. Now he gets to start from pole position alongside Nikita Bedrin. Can he convert this into a race victory? My last words to him, just enjoy it. Enjoy the moment, drink it in. You're leading from the grid against 37 on this grid, although there is a 38th in the pits, of course, of the best young drivers in the world, and you get to start from pole position because of all the hard work and all of the incredible dexterity and patience and composure and discipline that you have put in over these years to get yourself into this position. Whatever happens, just enjoy it. A lot of these kids forget to enjoy it because they put so much pressure on themselves, especially considering that they're all on the way to Formula One, or at least hoping to be. And it's a business, it's a job, it's obviously what they want to do. It's at the point now where it's no longer a hobby, it's now their ambition, so they want to make the most of it. But at the same time, if you don't enjoy it, you're going to lose the purpose of doing it all anyway. So just go out there, have fun, make use of the opportunities. Al-Azhari to the left of your picture at the front in the number 11 Yazid Academy car with the bright fluorescent yellow nose tip, alongside Nikita Bedrin in the gold and green PHM AIX car to the right of your picture now. Nikita Bedrin with the two Mumbai Falcons on the left, Freddie Slater on the right, Alex Powell. Watch out for Kia Nakamura-Berta in the third Mumbai Falcons car, fifth on the grid, and then Dorian Pain in the Prema car, which is in red and white. Plenty of battles to come. There'll be plenty at the front, a lot at the back as well. Green flag flies, and we're ready to go racing for the third and final time in round 2 of the F4 UAE Championship here at Yas Marina. Let's race at Abu Dhabi. And Alex Powell has not gone anywhere. Alex Powell's not moved. So Gianni Malazari having to defend big time from Bedrin and Slater. Nakamura-Berta is going to have to fend off from Dorian Pain. But as they work their way to the first corner, Fairclough's going to get up the inside of Dorian Pain and make the move. And I think Gabriel still could take on both of them as they come off the hairpin. Al-Azhari leads. Slater's up to second. Good start from Freddie Slater. Now he's going to take on the attack of Gianni Al-Azhari as they head up to the W Hotel for the first time. Al-Azhari trying to keep the car nice and pointed as everybody else squabbles their way through on the opening lap. Couple of drivers running wide, but Al-Azhari leads from Slater, Bedrin, Nakamura-Berta. Then it is Fairclough in front of Stilp and Dorian Pain. So everybody just about working their way through the W Hotel. Try to avoid contact, everybody. And Al-Azhari has got the lead he wanted, and he's got a little bit of daylight now between himself and Freddie Slater. Slater's actually going to have more pressure from Bedrin before he can close up on Al-Azhari the way things currently stand. So Slater needs to take full advantage of the opportunity of the toe on the way down the back straight. Nakamura-Berta's all over the back of Bedrin. So the Mumbai Falcons are charging. Up the inside comes one of the AGI Sports. That looks to me to be Jack Beaton trying to take on Thiago Rodriguez. So they work their way through in the mid-pack, and there's Dion Gowda trying to assert himself in the middle of the field as well. Now, did Alex Powell actually get going, or has he stopped completely? That's going to be the interesting question now. But I have a feeling that Alex Powell is going nowhere. I know that Rashid Al-Daheri has left the pits and carried on, so he's now got to try and fight his way through the field. We look in the background, we might just be able to see Alex Powell if he is motion on the circuit. Well, we can't quite see Al-Daheri or Alex Powell, so they've obviously got a little bit of time between them. But here is Al-Azhari in front of Slater and Bedrin. To the chicane, left, hold the power, right. A little bit more smooth running through there. A lot of drivers going for it, and there's a spin around. It's one of the AGIs tagged in by the high-tech. So now everybody's got to try and avoid contact, and I'm afraid Alex Powell appears to have gone into that incident. He had nowhere to go. We've got a car without a front wing. It's one of the high-techs, and we're going 3 wide further back as Zach Scoulard battles with Jules Caranta and Dorian Pain. So round the outside comes Zach Scoulard. That is a brilliant move from the young man who lives in Dubai. Zach Scoulard has done a terrific job there. Dorian Pain slots back in behind him. This is great work for Zach Scoulard. He's just done 2 of the toughest drivers in this field. But there you can see the damage to both cars. Actually, I think that might be Dion Gowda who's got the damage. So Dion Gowda's gone into the back of Jack Beaton. Beaton's tried to move his car. And I think Dion Gowda's trying to move his as well. A, to keep racing, but B, to avoid the safety car, because we've got yellow flags now down at 6 and 7, as you would of course imagine. So Al-Azhari, Slater, Bedrin, Nakamura-Berta, then Fairclough and Stilp, and then we've got Scoulard in 7th ahead of Pain, Caranta, and in 10th place that looks like Kamal Murad. who is doing a great job there in front of Enzo Ye. 3 wide on the run to the corner. 2 Santalocks. Don't trip over the number 2 of Liu Kaixun, who drifts out wide. And it's Aurelia Nobels who's able to hold the station there in front of his teammate, in front of her teammate, Yvan David, my apologies. So Yvan David now going wheel to wheel with Liu Kaixun. Aurelia Nobels has already scarpered away from the scene. Safety car, safety car. Now, will they have seen that in time? I think they have. Well done, everybody. So hopefully that means there's not going to be any investigations into track positions, but unfortunately with the stationary cars there at the back of the field of Dion Gouda and Jack Beaton, safety car had to come out. And for poor Dion Gouda, that's his miserable, miserable weekend finally over. But it's not the way he wanted to end it. At least he can go away now for a couple of days, reconnaissance, get himself better, and hopefully in Dubai he'll be on all cylinders again, because he's not been feeling well at all this weekend. It's one of the rare weekends that I haven't seen Dion Gouda, never mind see Dion Gouda smile. He's kept himself very low profile this weekend. So Keanu Alazari is keeping himself to himself at the front of the field. Freddie Slater is going to be fighting him on the restart, and this is going to be one of the toughest restarts of Keanu Alazari's short motor racing career up to this point. He did a fantastic job with Kia Nakamura-Berta on the restart yesterday, but Freddie Slater, well, that's a different kettle of fish. Freddie is a fighter, always has been, probably always will be. So this is going to be quite the challenge. There's poor Dion Gouda, just waiting for his miserable weekend to finish. He can go back to the garage, pack everything up and go home. That's not really the way that he wanted things to be. Of course, that is an option for some of the people here. Some drivers are staying here in the United Arab Emirates. Some actually live over here. Jack Beaton told to get back in the car because they're actually going to need his assistance to help maneuver it, because they can push him. And if he puts the steering wheel back in position, he can actually help them maneuver the car. So Jack Beaton instructed by the marshals to get back in. And it's good that the drivers are being very respectful of the instructions of the marshals. They do know what they're doing. They're very well trained and educated here in the United Arab Emirates. Phenomenal team here at the Yas Marina circuit. The extraction team have already got to the scene of Kia Nakamura-Berta's car. Unfortunately, not Kia Nakamura-Berta, my apologies, it's Dion Gouda's car. And it's the 51 and the 55. That's what's confusing me. I do apologise. So Kia Nakamura-Berta is still there in position for those who just panicked. I do apologise. He's now in 4th position behind Nikita Bedrin. So it's Keanu Alazari who leads from Freddie Slater, Nikita Bedrin and Kia Nakamura-Berta. Now we're going to see what happened. You can see there it's all, just a little bit too eager from one of the high-techs. I think that might have been Sebastian Murray, who has come back into the pits and changed the front nose and gone out again. So just the conflagration of so many cars into one small space. And I'm afraid it's Murray who tips Jack Beaton into the spin, and Dion Gouda is left with no option, nowhere to go. So at the back of the field, you've got 3 fairly big names here, and worth keeping an eye on as they charge through the field. You've got Rashid Al Daheri, who had a pit lane start. You've got Alex Powell, who obviously barely got off the grid at all, down in 32nd. And in 33rd, you've got Sebastian Murray, who has had his trip to the pits to repair that front wing. So there's going to be 3 drivers who will be charging their way through from the back. Safety car lights are out. So we are going to go racing this time. Safety car in at the end of this lap. So for Keanu Alazari, this is without a doubt going to be the toughest restart of his racing career so far. He did an excellent job of executing that with Kia Nakamura-Berta. The problem is, Freddie Slater is very intelligent. He will know that that could be what Keanu Alazari tries to do, because obviously he's made it work once with Kia Nakamura-Berta. He would have seen that, and he will have... Now it looks like he's already gone for it. So Keanu Alazari has gone for it and decided to be fairly tactical here. But Freddie Slater is close to him, so Keanu Alazari just getting himself into a good mode, but he has got a little bit of daylight between himself and Slater on this restart, so I think he's done as good as he was ever going to do, and it's green, 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 and we're back to race speed. Now, can Bedrin get Slater before Slater can get Alazari? Because Bedrin's very close indeed to Freddie Slater. Slater trying to shake him off. Bedrin's going to come at him, and further back, Dorian Pan has got pressure from Jules Caranta, her countryman. They go through to the hairpin, bit of a lock-up from both Scoulard and Dorian Pan. But Alazari holds the lead from Slater, Bedrin, Nakamura-Berta. Then it is the 2 high-techs of Fairclough and Stelp. Scoulard, Pan, Caranta, Murad, Rodella, Ye, Quintarelli, Rodriguez, Larac, and Chuyan Pu. So they work their way through to the W Hotel once again. Alazari still running strong here in front of Slater as Kia Nakamura-Berta there in the number 51 Mumbai Falcons car, chasing after Nikita Bedrin. Still got plenty of race time to go. Just under 20 minutes, plus the additional lap. And there is Nakamura Berta, the man who won his first ever car race a week ago on this very circuit with the corkscrew configuration. Couple of drivers going side by side and running wide. That is Kamal Murad and Alves Rodella having a sensational duel on this first lap after the restart. And that's for the final point. Here comes Rodella, dives in again on Kamal Murad, and we've got a PHM AIX cruising and clearly with mechanical difficulties of some kind. I wonder if that is Everett Stack, the American driver who had problems in race 2. I wonder if they've come back in race 3. But certainly one of the PHM AIX cars is not circulating anymore. So we need to figure out which car it is, because there's debris apparently at turn 14. That is at the approach to the final 2 corners on the lap. So there's been contact somewhere. But there's definitely one car that doesn't... Oh, there's a car crabbing. It's one of the XLs. So one of the XLs is crabbing with damage, and that's because there's been contact at the hairpin. There's a car in the barrier on the hairpin at the back there, turn 5. So we could have another safety car here, as everybody else is jostling. Dorian Pan has got the move done again on Zach Scular. Very good racecraft from her, as Kiana Alazari continues to lead here from Slater, Bedrin, Nakamura Berta, Fairclough and Stilt. Then Dorian Pan has got herself into 7th place. As into the pits comes the damaged XL car, and it is Alves Rodella. So it's Kamal Murad that's ended up in the barriers. That was the fight for 10th position, and that has now meant that Enzo Ye has gone into 10th place. That's Matteo Quintarelli and Ruffy on the rack getting the run on Thiago Rodriguez. So they managed to get through without too much difficulty, but there is Kamal Murad, his car in the barrier as we saw. And, well, that is a fairly dangerous position. Lockups into the W Hotel corners as everyone tries to get through there without drama. Gilles Caranta now taking on Zach Scular. That beautiful pink sky overhead giving us a fantastic backdrop. But now up to 10th position out of all of that is Enzo Ye in the second of the race GP cars in this top 10. Gilles Caranta's trying to take him on all on his own, but now he's got a bit of support from Enzo Ye. 11th for Quintarelli, then Rodriguez, Narak, Chu, Dorianani, Suworthan, Popov, Nobels, and I think we're going safety car. We are indeed. Well, unfortunately, that didn't last long, did it? F4 UAE goes safety car again. Now, here's an interesting debate. Who should be in front? Should it be Yvan David, or should it be the number 8 of Lucas Samalisto? They're trying to decide it between themselves. As into the pits comes Alves Rodella, and he's already out of the car. So Alves Rodella clearly not prepared to go out onto the circuit again. Well, he's clearly not got a car that can do so. The points are gone, and very unfortunate for Alves Rodella. Safety car out on circuit for the second time as Kamal Murad gets out of his car. And now gets the opportunity to climb over the barriers so that he can go back. So let's have a look and see. I think we'll get an opportunity to see what happened there between Kamal Murad and Alves Rodella. So this is further round. This is at the W Hotel. Oh, now drivers have been threatening to do that all weekend long. Now that is Everett Stack. So Everett Stack has had that moment. And let's see what happened. Ah, now there was contact between Rodella and Kamal Murad. So unfortunately, the two of them just got too close to each other, and both drivers are now out of the race. So Everett Stack clouting the barriers at the W Hotel, and drivers have been threatening to do that for the last 2 weeks, to be fair, and nobody had done so until Everett Stack. Well, we went 5 and a bit races without anybody striking the Nicholas Latifi wall, as it were. But unfortunately, we couldn't quite run that gauntlet anymore, and Everett Stack lost the car and went in. Alves Rodella's car is being now manoeuvred back into the pit lane garage at XL Motorsport. He's out, and so too is Kamal Murad. So that was a very painful lap indeed for the PHM AIX team. They really didn't need to have 2 cars dropping out in the same lap. But they do have a man in the top 10. In fact, they have a man on the podium at the moment. That's Nikita Bedrin. So, again, we get to take stock of the situation, and we look through the grid in terms of who is where. Alazari still leading. Slater, Bedrin, Nakamura Berta, Fairclough and Gabriel Stilp. Rounding out the top 10 and the point scoring positions are Dorian Pan, who is the second of the rookies at the moment. Then it is Zach Goulart, Gilles Caranta and Enzo Ye. Matteo Quintarelli and Rafi on the rack from Chuyan Pu and Thiago Rodriguez. Kai Dorianani and Reza Saruothan. And then Max Popov, Aurelia Nobels, Luca Schun, Yvan David, Lucas Samalisto. And then we have Peter Buzanelos, Tina Hausman, Nicolas Stati, Gauri Schreiner, Fuyu Hao, Rashid Aldeheri, Alex Powell, Sebastian Murray, and Maxi Restrepo. Just 30 of the original 35 cars are still going. We have retirements from Alves Rodella, Kamal Murad, Everett Stack, Dion Gowda and Jack Beaton. And we are in our second safety car period of the race. So we now have 14 minutes, 45 seconds roughly, plus the additional lap remaining. And for Chiano Al-Azari, it's crunch time again. Look at that skyline. It is going to be pitch black by the time they come home. But that is about as dark, eerie and ominous. It's like something out of Apocalypse Now. And I have a feeling that down at PHM-AIX they are currently saying to themselves, the horror, because they've got so much crash damage to repair now. There is Aurelia Nobels, making massive strides, actually. Last week she had a bit of a weekend to forget, but she's doing a much better job this time, and definitely working her magic back up the field. A lot of people have written Aurelia Nobels off as a driver with not a lot of ability, but I think that's incredibly unfair when you consider just how tough it was for her in 2023. She's come our way, done a lot of work over the winter, rebuilt, regrouped and rebooted, and she's a much stronger, much more mentally agile driver now. She's still not quite as bombastic as maybe some of the other rookies, but progress is progress, and you can't demigrate it. She's still making a very decent work of moving her way forward. Now, this is going to tell us a lot about whether we're able to go racing again. Well, that car is still on the extraction vehicle, so I think we're going to have at least one more lap behind the safety car. Fortunately, Everett Stack had the foresight to drive his car very carefully to a marshal post, so he wasn't going to cause a problem with the safety car. It's just unfortunate that Kamal Murad had nowhere to go with his particular car, so obviously straight into the barrier he went. So we've got one lap behind the safety car, and we're going to have a second now. Chiano Al-Azari driving very close to the safety car, I have to say, as everybody else is just trying to dial themselves in. And again, it's quite a tough procedure to keep those tyres and brakes up to operative temperature, and you have to make sure that they are going to give you the confidence going into turn one when they've been cold for 2 laps and you head down to the first corner and you put your foot on the brake when you're at full chat battling with another driver. You've got to make sure that that car will turn in. So the lap 1 incident at turn 6 between 5:45 and 55, it's very nearly all the 5s there, so Sebastian Murray, Jack Beaton and Dion Gowda will be investigated after the race. No surprises there. And I think it's going to be a very similar story between the incident between Kamal Murad and Alves Rodella. That's also probably going to be investigated after the race as well. Now, Chiano Al-Azari did a good job on his restart the last time. Sorry, Chiano, but you've got to do it all over again. He's getting pretty good at these restarts, though. Soaking up the pressure, dealing with whatever is thrown at you. That's what makes a great racing driver. And these youngsters still doing a very fair job of their young fledgling motor racing career. It's getting more competitive all the time. I was having this conversation down in the pit lane earlier today with a few of the dads who were baffled at how close it is. And I said to them, look, I remember watching in Formula 3000 many years ago in the late 90s. I was an avid fan of F3000. You'd have to wait a week to watch the races. It's not like now where you get to watch the support races in Formula 1 live. You'd have to wait a week for those races to come around, and it was baffling. You'd have 6 to 7 seconds from the front to the back of the grid in qualifying. Now, it's a bit of a strange session if you've got 6 to 7 tenths of a second between less than 20 cars. It's very impressive how close it is, and it just shows you how much development is being made to these incredible young talents in their careers, how much work their driver coaches, their engineers, their mind managers, their sports physicians, all these people are doing with them. This is not just a hobby anymore. This is the full process of going motor racing. If you really want to get to Formula 1, it's got to be a whole world. And a lot of the parents here have suddenly realized, now this isn't just us cheering him on from the sidelines. We're actually in their office this particular weekend. So we've got to let them just carry on and be in their office. Now, are those lights going to go out because the extraction vehicle is still there at the final hairpin? I gather it's been a bit awkward moving Kamal Murad's car. So I think we're going to be behind the safety car at least one more lap. Indeed we are. The lights are not out, and they certainly needed to be by now, so the extraction vehicle's not been able to move Kamal Murad's car as quickly as originally first thought, so we're going to have to go racing again with one more lap behind the safety car first. As you can see, Jack Beaton and Dion Gowda's cars there behind the barriers. I'll tell you what, the safety car driver's getting his mileage in this week. Last week, he only really made an appearance on Sunday. On this particular occasion, it's back to business as normal in the world of single-seater junior ladders. But the safety car definitely getting its mileage in. Right, who should we watch for on this restart? Well, I do think it's worth keeping an eye on Dorian Pain, 7th position at the moment, the second highest rookie, and she's been looking a lot more flamboyant in this race. She certainly seems to have turned the corner developmental-wise. There's Deegan Fairclough. He's always good for an overtake or two on a restart. If he's looked after his tyres well, he's got a good shot of it. Zach Scoulard has had a very strong start to the season. This is only his 6th ever car race, don't forget, Zach Scoulard. So he's done a terrific job with the Yas Heat Academy, and he's looking very positive. They're all really proud of him, and with good reason. You know, the guy has been fairly consistent and solid in karting, but jumping straight into cars with not as much experience as his teammate Keanu Al-Azari, and he's been right up there in the top 10. They've got a lot of reasons to be happy with young Zach Scoulard. Gilles Caranta has been pretty hot as well, and Matteo Quintarelli. So the Race GP and Santanok drivers there, watch for those two. They're definitely going to be trying to make up some gains on this particular lap. I'm going to mention 2 other drivers who are quietly under the radar, making massive progress every time they get behind the wheel. Kai Darianani just manages almost effortlessly to recover from poor qualifying sessions. Now finds himself in 15th, going through the field like wildfire, and the other one driving through like a cat through a wet piece of newspaper is Reza Sarurthan, who's done a great job in this one, up to 16th now for the high-tech team. So the young man from Bournemouth definitely starting to do things by halves and looking pretty solid with it. So Reza Sarurthan definitely looking much better. Safety car lights out. Here we go. Now we're going to get back under racing conditions again. 3 laps behind the safety car is fair enough. But now it's up to you, Keanu. What are you going to do? How are you going to outfox Freddie Slater on the run to chicane? Freddie Slater looking for his opportunity to get one over on the Yas Heat driver in front of him. The Mumbai Falcon really wanting to challenge for another victory. Even a 2nd place would do very well indeed, though, for Freddie Slater. He's also got to be thinking about championship. He'll want to take a win off Keanu Al-Azari. But look how bunched it's getting, and Keanu really is holding them at bay this time. He's got to wait. He's got to wait by the look of it. But he's also got to keep Freddie Slater at bay. When is he going to make the bid to go through? He's very cautious. Through the chicane. When's he going to go for it? He backs off the charge. Now he goes for it. And a few drivers have been held up there, but Freddie Slater didn't fall for it. He's gone with him. Green, 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 green. We're racing in Yas Marina. So this time Freddie Slater's actually got the toe, but so has Nikita Bedrin. So who's going to make the first move? Is it going to be Slater on Al-Azari, or is it going to be Bedrin on Slater? Up to the hairpin and up the inside. Bedrin is going to be double timed here. Nakamura Berta's going to get past both of them. Nakamura Berta slots in behind Slater. Slater's going with Al-Azari. Bedrin back on the inside of Nakamura Berta. Slater almost overhauled. And now Bedrin's going to lock up big time into the side of Slater. Did they make it through? Al-Azari still leads, scampering away. And Slater's now 2nd. Nakamura Berta comes back in on Bedrin to get into 3rd position. Brilliant racing from Kia Nakamura Berta. Up into P3. Hungry and determined into 3rd place. So now watch for Deegan Fairclough. He fancies his chances on Nikita Bedrin. Bedrin almost had the run up to 2nd place there. Slater is the luckiest man in the UAE right now. He almost got manhandled off the road at W Hotel. Managed to fight and keep it on the racetrack. And we'll watch out for a few of the drivers in the background to try and make some places as well. The likes of Rashid Al-Daheri, Sebastian Murray, and of course, also in the mix there is Alex Powell. He'll be trying to fight his way back to the points with very little time to do it. 6 minutes plus the additional lap. And the incident between those 2 drivers, Kamal Murad and Alvis Rodella, will indeed be investigated after the race. Told you so. Out of the hairpin, and that's Bedrin, having been taken by Deegan Fairclough, but now he's coming back at him, down the back straight. So Fairclough getting through into 4th position initially, Bedrin trying to squeeze him, and they're in a drag race to the braking zone, but guess who else is in the mix? Gabriel Stilp in 6th position, and I know Stilp of old, he will try a move if it's on. He could get past both of them. Is there going to be a slang dump maneuver? They are so close to touching wheels, Fairclough and Bedrin. Fairclough keeps his foot in, goes over the corrugation, manages to get the position, but he's got to concede it. The problem is, now Stilp has gone for Bedrin, so it's not going to be so easy for Fairclough to give the position back. He can't give the position back. Now Bedrin's in trouble from losing the place to Dorian Pain, and that is going to backfire on Deegan Fairclough because he can't give the place back. Dorian Pain going the long way round. Can he hold it? Oh, and there's contact with 2 cars in the barrier. It's all gone terribly wrong in the background, but Dorian Pain has gone right round the outside of Nikita Bedrin. She is flying. Brilliant racing from Dorian Pain. That was going to be such a tough maneuver to get right. and she has done it, and that is Sebastian Murray in trouble again, along with Fuyu Hao and Maxi Restrepo, and we've got another car at turn 1. Although, of course, technically speaking, it is turn 9, because that's what it's named, because of the difference on the support paddock. So it's Kai Darianani. Darianani has gone off at turn 1. Devastating, absolutely devastating for him. And I think we're going to be under safety car for the 3rd time, and this race could even end under safety car. Look at that. Sebastian Murray's car abandoned in the middle of the road. No question about it, this is going to be safety car, and it could end this way. Well, still battles with Reza Saworthan. So Reza Saworthan doing his best job there, the young man from Bournemouth, as Fuyu Hao gets out of the pinnacle. Unfortunately, already out of the car is Maxi Restrepo, the Colombian. And Sebastian Murray has abandoned his car in the middle of the road. Safety car is out. Of course it is. Well, I tell you what, 2 drivers there really put on a bit of a show. Kia Nakamura and Dorian Pan. We all knew she was a very exciting racing driver anyway from her magnificent performance in LMP2 last year. But jumping into F4, look, she's in P6 now. She's worked her way forward, and I think that's going to be P5 once this is all worked out, because rather sadly, Fairclough's manoeuvre on Bedrin, he gained an advantage by going over the road, but then he couldn't give the place back because, unfortunately, Bedrin had then been overtaken by Gabriel Stilp, so I think Fairclough already knows he's got a penalty coming his way. Totally unintentional, but there's nothing he can do about it. Let's have a look back. We'll see what happened, hopefully. And this is the aftermath. Oh dear, oh dear. Well, we didn't even really see what properly caused the start of that, but it looked to me as though Sebastian Murray skated along the Armco on the way to the apex of turn 1, so the apex of turn 6, sorry. So that could have been very nasty indeed. I think he's very lucky just to be able to get out of the car and walk away. In fact, all 3 drivers have done so. Frustrating again, but they have now all managed to continue, and I can tell you that Kai Darianani is now at the back of the field again. There he is. So having gone off at turn 1 initially, Darianani has rejoined at the back of the field. So bitterly frustrating and disappointing, yes, but at least he is still part of this motor race. Well, it's all shuffled the deck again, so let's go through what the order is now, because we've now got 8 retirements. Fuyu Hao, Sebastian Murray, Maxi Restrepo, Alves Rodella, Kamal Murad, Everett Stack, Dion Gauda and Jack Beaton. So the order at the moment is... Oh, there's damage. Damage to Aurelia Nobels. So Nobels has got a damaged front wing. So Nobels, unfortunately, is going to be given a technical flag, almost certainly for that. So that ruins her brilliant race. So a lot of bitter disappointments in this field, as well as some good performances. Right, if we finish this race under safety car, this is what the order is likely to be. Keanu Alazari from Freddie Slater and Kia Nakamura. Those are, for me, the 3 championship protagonists, the way this season is playing out. Deegan Fairclough in 4th, though whether he'll keep it or not is currently under some scrutiny, or at least it certainly will be after the race. Then it's going to be Gabriel Stilp in front of Dorian Pan, who is driving beautifully in P6. I think that's going to become P5, and she is the 2nd highest rookie at the moment. 7th place is Nikita Bedrin, who's really struggled for tyres on this particular race. Jules Caranta, another brilliant rookie, right up there in 8th place. And then 9th for Zach Scular, and 10th place for Enzo Ye. Then in 11th is Chu Yan Pu. That's an amazing comeback for the Chinese driver. Don't forget that Chu Yan Pu was actually all the way down in 23rd on the grid for this one. So if you think he's not good enough to be in the Mercedes Junior program, shut up, because from 23rd to 11th, that is extraordinary, especially when you consider we've had 3 safety car periods in the middle of all of that. So Chu Yan Pu, excellent work. 12th position for Rafael Narak. Matteo Quintarelli frustrated and down to 13th again. Max Popov's made a good comeback as well. 14th place for him now. Thiago Rodriguez is in front of Yvan David. And then Reza Saworthan, who is in 17th place, doing a relatively good job, kind of stuck behind Yvan David at the moment. Liu Kai-shun, 18th, then Lucas Amalisto in 19th. Peter Buzanelos is 20th, in front of Tina Hausmann, Rashid Aldaheri, Alex Powell, Nicholas Stati, Carrie Schreiner, and then Aurelia Nobels and Kai Darianani. Well, based on how many seconds we've got to go, I think this race is going to finish under safety car, because we're currently in 15 seconds to go mode now, and the safety car is still out. So, yeah, mathematically, we are not going to be able to cross the finish line under green. There are 10 seconds left, as you can see, and they are going to go down to 1, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's it. So, we now have a winner. It's all just basically about crossing the line now, as far as Chiara Al-Azari is concerned. But you've still got to do it. I say that we have a winner, we have a confirmed leader to the flag, provided that nothing happens behind the safety car. And it has happened before. So it's not sealed yet for Chiara Al-Azari, but he certainly can't be overtaken. He's just got to make sure that the car comes home with him in the lead. And I have to say, this will be a groundbreaking moment for Chiara Al-Azari, a reverse grid win and an outright win. That definitely confirms him as a championship contender in 2024. And with 9 races to go at the end of this one, 6 of them on home soil at Dubai Autodrome. Bring on the title fight. It's going to be really exciting for Chiara Al-Azari. And he goes back home. He can take a few days of recuperation, focus on his schoolwork for a little bit, and then come back and get the job done. And it certainly won't take him anywhere near as long to get to the race circuit this time. It's taken him about an hour and a half so far, but it'll only take him about 15-20 minutes or so to get to the next round of the championship. That's much better. So Freddie Slater denied a victory, but again, for his title fight aspirations, second place is pretty darn solid. We've said this time and time again, you don't have to win every race in F4, but finishing in the top 5 as often as possible is what's going to get you to the victory. And can we point out, once again, that after 6 races, Freddie Slater has a lowest finish of P4. That is quite astonishing. In 6 races, he has not finished lower than 4th, and that is how you win a championship. He's not done it yet. He's only done 6 races, but there's definitely a big gap now for the rest of the field to try and close up on him. And crucially for Slater, he's going to finish ahead of his teammate and rival Kian Nakamura Berta, so he'll actually extend the gap over him. The only driver that's going to close in on Slater's score by a little bit is Chiara Al-Azari, but certainly not by enough for Freddie Slater to break a sweat in the next 11 days. So the battle is going to continue on to Dubai, but what a battle it is going to be when we get there. The race will finish under safety car now. It's unfortunate for those who wanted a bit of a grandstand showcase, but for those in the Yas Heat Academy who are based here in Abu Dhabi, it's just like December all over again. They had 2 races on the Grand Prix circuit during the weekend of Formula One, and in both of those races, it was Chiara Al-Azari that got the victory. He was robbed and denied in race 1, dropped all the way down to 10th position, which was a phenomenal comeback based on the fact that he had to come into the pits to repair damage. To charge through for a point is absolutely phenomenal. But then to come back and win race 2 and 3, I think it's fair to say that Chiara Al-Azari is now a championship contender. He is ready to fight for this title. And with 9 races to go, it is very much game on. So as they work their way through the final chicane, there is going to be another big celebration in the Palm Jumeirah this evening. There was one last night for Chiara Al-Azari taking the victory in race 2. Now they're going to get to do it again here in race 3 as the field is brought through over the start-finish line for the last time. And it is going to be Chiara Al-Azari who wins again. Absolutely phenomenal. Chiara Al-Azari wins for the 2nd race in a row. Absolutely terrific. Game on for the championship. He had no luck at all in the first round of the championship. 2 pole positions, ended up with 2 podiums, and in the 3rd encounter, a trip into the wall. But Chiara Al-Azari is definitely a championship contender now. He may have a bit of ground to make up, but you cannot deny he is one of the fastest drivers out there, and he has got an amazing championship assault to come. So Chiara Al-Azari fights, defends, protects, secures. Another brilliant victory for Chiara Al-Azari, his 2nd in F4 UAE and his 2nd in a row. His 4th ever win in a racing car, and they've all been on this circuit. I wonder how excited he's going to be to win at Dubai Autodrome if he can get the job done next week, and he's definitely a favourite for it. But Freddie Slater will be very happy tonight as well. 2nd place, more big points. He's had a win, and he's had a lot of decent points come through. In fact, he's had a win, a 2nd and a 3rd this weekend. His lowest finish in the first 6 races of the year is no lower than 4th. That is very much championship material. But this man will fight him for it all the way. And the good news is that both Keanu Al-Azhari and Freddie Slater are ready to put on a hard, fair, but firm fight. And I have to say, full credit as well to Dorian Pain, who has been absolutely sensational tonight. A lot of people would have considered, well, in a field full of young lads, she could have been a bit of a pushover. No chance. No chance at all. Dorian Pain fought. And she is definitely one of the future talents. When we talk about who is going to be the next woman to race in Formula One, who's got the best chance of it, who's got the talent, who's got the opportunity, who's got the best shot? I think if you said anybody other than Dorian Pain right now, you'd look a little foolish. But Dorian Pain is definitely up there, leading the incredible female talent contingent. That doesn't mean she's the only one. You've got to look at various other drivers up there, the likes of Maya Berg, who's obviously going to be a contender for that accolade as well. I would also put Bianca Bustamante into that, and I know a lot of people have criticised me for that, but I've been watching her for more than just a couple of seasons. I've been watching her since the age of 14. She was here last year, of course, and unfortunately she's decided not to come back to the UAE. But there are some superb young talents of the female persuasion. Dorian Pain, definitely the leading one of those at the moment. Keanu Al-Azhari, Freddie Slater, Kia Nakamura Berta, top three. Deegan Fairclough, Gabriel Stilp and Dorian Pain. Then Nikita Bedrin, Karanta in the top 10 again. Zach Scular, another great run. Enzo Ye, sealing the points, and fifth in rookie. Chu Yanpu, what a comeback to P11. Rafael Narak in 12th. From Matteo Quintarelli and Max Popov, another strong drive. Thiago Rodriguez in front of Yvan David and Reza Sarurthan. Then Liu Kaishun, Lucas Amalisto, Peter Bozanelos, and Tina Hausman in 21st ahead of a very unhappy Rashid Al-Daheri, a very frustrated Alex Powell. Galastati, Kari Schreiner, Aurelio Nobels, and Kai Darianani. The race had 8 retirements. Fuyu Hao, Sebastian Murray, Maxi Restrepo, Alves Rodella, Kamal Murad, Everett Stack, Dion Gowder, and Jack Beaton. A very frustrating race for several competitors in the field. I think for you guys at home as well, wanting a little bit more green flag running, Keanu Al-Azhari doesn't mind. He takes the win. Taking the win again. 2 race wins in a row then for the youngster Keanu Al-Azhari. And he can be very happy indeed with his lot there. Excellent display and a fantastic performance from Keanu Al-Azhari. He can be quite happy with the way that has gone. Some really talented performances in that race. And I do want to mention some of these guys that, you know, we talk a lot about the podium. We talk a lot about the top 10. But F4 is so much about development, so much about, you know, range of context. There's so much about, you know, sort of different points about what you're making out of races, how you're doing with what you've got. There are so many drivers outside the points that are worth a mention. Chu Yanpu of China, from 23rd on the grid through to 11th. That is really impressive racecraft from the Chinese driver. Also, Max Popov working his way from the bottom end of the top 20 to 14th. And what about Yvan David? Started all the way back in 29th on the grid. And the Sri Lankan absolutely catamaranged his way through to 16th place, holding off the charging Reza Sarurthan, who also made up some good ground in that race. So there's a lot of other stories going on. It's not just about the guys in the top 3, it's also about the drivers who are making good use of the opportunities that are around them. That's what I love about F4. It's not just about the guys on the podium, it's about the guys around them who are making massive inroads and doing everything they can to continue the dream forward. But onto the podium will come our top 3. Kia Nakamura Berta and Freddie Slater of Great Britain, 3rd and 2nd. And then our race winner, once again, Keanu Al-Azhari, who lives just an hour away from here, an hour and a half on a bad day, down in Dubai. And Keanu Al-Azhari will be so happy tonight. There'll be so much relief after years of incredible speed with a lot of misfortune, a lot of bad luck, a lot of circumstances thrown against him. It's wonderful to see Keanu Al-Azhari finally maximising his true potential and showing everybody what he could do. In karting, he was always one of the fastest drivers in the field, but he could never really turn it into any results that he could be proud of himself. There was always potential. There was always a monstrous amount of potential, but it just never grew into anything in karting. In cars, finally, he's got the chance to showcase what he can do, and it's wonderful to see. But he's not the only one. There's so many drivers out there doing a good job, and I have to say there's at least 3 or 4 drivers in that race who were fairly robbed as well. We didn't really get to see what they could do. Rashid Al-Daheri didn't even get to start the race from the grid, so a bit of a wasted evening for him, unfortunately, and I really genuinely think he would have been top 5 without that. We saw how good he could be in race 1 and 2, the Emirati, and he just wasn't able to show it in race 3. Similar for Alex Powell, who'll be kicking himself for that start. Whether it's his fault or not, he'll still be bitterly frustrated that he's not able to be part of it. And then also, I think you've got to feel for Kai Darianani as well, doing a fantastic job, charging his way through the field. Could have been a points for me, and just again, unlucky. The drivers in Formula Regional are getting themselves ready to go once again. The podium is underway in F4 UAE. As you can see for yourself, Kia Nakamura-Berta and Freddie Slater making their way to the podium steps. But the race winner again, Keanu Al-Azhari. What a sensational drive. Twice now out of 3. In fact, race 1 was a sensational drive. He just didn't get the result he wanted. But he had to charge his way through from the back to the front. And he can be very, very happy indeed with what he's achieved. So Keanu Al-Azhari can be very proud of his weekend. He puts himself into the vanguard of the title fight now. But the man they all want to catch is the man to his right, Freddie Slater. He wants to be there at the championship end, and scoring these points week in, week out is definitely going to get the job done if he continues this incredible level of consistency. So on they will come again to Dubai Autodrome. 11 days from now, the weekend starts in earnest for the 3rd round of the championship. And it's going to be a really exciting opportunity. The marketing manager of Yas Marina Circuit, Ali El Shahad, is the one who is giving the trophies out. But 3 very happy drivers. Kia Nakamura-Berta getting his championship title assault back on track after some difficulties. Freddie Slater still banging in those top 5s. But Keanu Al-Azhari, double winner this weekend here at Yas Marina for the Yas Heat Academy. And it couldn't really be a better party for that team. However, what we can say from round 2 is that the championship plot thickens. These 3 are almost certainly going to be the 3 title contenders. There may be others pulling off a decent result here and there, but the title fight is raging between Nakamura-Berta, Al-Azhari, and the title leader, Freddie Slater. Who is going to be champion in F4 UAE? Your guess is as good as mine, but the battle starts here. From Jake Sanson, I hope you've enjoyed the race action all 3 races have provided us here at the Yas Marina circuit. There is more to come when 11 days from now the drivers will descend on the Dubai Autodrome and the championship fight will continue. Formula Regional is up next in the Middle East Championship, but from F4 UAE, we'll see you in Dubai.